I want to start on the Biden thing, and please excuse me today, but I am a little sidetracked, and maybe later today I'll give you some information on what is happening, but nothing is happening in my life that isn't happening in thousands of Americans' homes. And I'm no different than you and what you're going through. So let's just get through what we can. I have not been paying attention to the news, but I have been paying attention enough to see what yesterday Jim Jordan revealed: 170 suspicious activity reports surrounding what he is calling the Biden crime family. This is something that, as our audience member, you have known since 2016, 2015. Peter Schweizer has been on this program often, and the first time I heard anyone mention crime and Biden in a serious, educated way was with Peter on this program, when he said Joe Biden may be the most corrupt vice president in our nation's history. And that is continuing. All of the stuff that was released yesterday, the 170 suspicious activity reports, they all come from the Treasury Department. They were put together by the Treasury Department of our government in the Obama and Biden administration. 170 of those the committee has reviewed. Plus thousands of pages of bank records that the committee has reviewed, and they have gotten these from four or five of the banks, but they believe there's as many as 12 banks involved. It looks like a very elaborate money laundering scheme of the Bidens. The Bidens are all involved. It looks like the entire family is involved, and not just immediate family members. And they are in receipt of millions of dollars. There are offshore LLCs that seemingly all of the members of the family have opened up another offshore business. I don't know what these people have done in the Biden family, all to suddenly be receiving payments from foreign governments to the tune of millions of dollars. But that is exactly why this investigation is going on. The FBI and the Justice Department and the Treasury Department have been investigating this for years. It is clear they are not doing their job. And before we get into this, I just want to tell you, we have been working on this topic, and the biggest problem that I have, the reason why nobody cares, is not that we don't care. It's that we don't think any justice will be served. We now are at a point in our republic where we are so corrupt that we know if you're an elite, nothing will happen to you unless you're on the wrong side. If you're on the wrong side, of course you'll pay a price. You may even pay a price for something you didn't do, but you will pay a heavy price if you're on the wrong side of the New World Order. This is not America. We have been talking about this for several months internally, and next week we are going to do a special next Thursday. I'm going to do my regular Wednesday night special. It's going to be on AI, which is a really important topic. And then on Thursday night, we're going to be doing a network-wide special. I believe it will be at 8 o'clock on Thursday. I'm not sure yet. But we are going to give you the constitutional stick that will make justice blind once again. And we will have constitutional experts on. We will have law enforcement, former prosecutors on. We are going to outline not only the crimes, but we are also going to show you exactly how to constitutionally, I'm not going to give you any more than that right now. We are going to, I don't want to reveal it give anybody any time to prepare an answer against it. Just know justice will be blind if you do your part. There will be consequences. The special is the Biden crime family, The Reckoning, next Thursday, I believe at 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so Stu, there is no explanation on what any of these family members do to get the millions of dollars. How many offshore LLCs do you have?
I have 0 offshore LLCs.
Okay. Well, that's different than me because I have none.
Oh, okay. So I have
none.
0.
You have 0.
Okay.
I have none.
Totally different number.
I don't know anybody that has an offshore LLC, and I don't clearly know what they're doing. I don't think I know anyone with an offshore LLC, but I do know people who have companies overseas, and I don't know if that would count as an offshore LLC.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I don't think it does. I think that's legitimate. The offshore is like a way to launder money. And I don't know anyone that has that. I don't know any legitimate reason for having an offshore LLC for a business that you don't really do anything. It's not your business.
You're talking about a shell company.
Correct.
Right? A pass-through where
Correct.
this money is just being funneled from some foreign entity into a shell company and then being distributed to Biden bank accounts.
So there's some new information. The Romanian businessman who was charged in a bribery scheme in Romania funneled more than $1 million to Hunter Biden and other family members of the then vice president, Joe Biden. And Joe Biden was, at the time, going over to Romania, and he was saying the same thing he was saying in Ukraine, which was, do you remember?
We have to stop the corruption.
Stop the corruption.
Yeah.
And so he and George Soros partnered together to stop all of the corruption. So he was over preaching anti-corruption members in Romania, and the businessman who later went to jail for corruption wired more than $3 million into the account of Rob Walker. Rob Walker is also the guy that worked with the Bidens in China that got another $3 million from the China Energy or whatever. And that was split up into a whole bunch of different Biden's accounts. So 16 of the 17 wire payments were made while Joe Biden was in office.
Oh, so not all of them were made while he was in office.
Exactly
Only
right.
16 of 17.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in 2014, a year before the payments began, he went and called corruption a cancer and a form of tyranny before the prime minister and the parliament. They began then, right after that trip, Hunter goes over and starts doing business with this corrupt businessman. He was facing an investigation for fraud and bribery. So what does the younger Biden do? He recruits the former FBI director, Louis Freeh, FBI, to work on the case to see if they can help him get out. Freeh leaned on his FBI contacts and his State Department contacts and Romanian officials to intervene in the case. Now, this is all outlined in the Hunter Biden laptop, and all of the wire transfers have been verified by the banks. It didn't work out. In 2017, he was sentenced to 7 years on charges of fraud and bribery. So now we have the Biden family. We have the State Department in not only Romania, but also in Ukraine. And we have the FBI. Now, why wouldn't the FBI be investigating the FBI's role in the Hunter and Joe Biden crime family business? Gee, I can't imagine. They are also investigating the relationship with another guy, a former Serbian foreign minister who worked with the CEFC, that's the Chinese energy company. This guy contacted Biden in December of 2015, while he was still vice president, to arrange a meeting with the chairman, Xi Jinping, according to the emails from the laptop. They made a $3 million suspect donation to the other guy from Serbia, his, quote, think tank, the Center for International Relations and Sustainable Development. Let me say that again. The think tank for international relationships and sustainable development. They got $3 million, and then $1 million of that was wired again to the Biden family.
Same percentages almost on every one of these transactions.
Every single one.
They're right around a third.
1/3.
30 to 33%, right in there.
Correct. Then, right after that, Hunter Biden arranged for this Serbian think tank, sustainable development guy to meet his father's security advisor because he was trying to run for the United Nations Secretary General. Okay, so now let's see what we have. The last one, we had the State Department and the FBI and Joe Biden and his family. Okay? In Romania, we also know the same thing happened in Ukraine. This one we know involved also the FBI, the White House, the banks. Who else? Who else am I missing here? The Biden family and the State Department. Now a third one with Serbia, and Serbia involving itself in another sustainable energy deal. What was the deal in Ukraine?
International relations and sustainable development.
Oh, yeah. And it involved corruption, anti-corruption, and energy. And China, too.
Yeah.
It seems weird.
Like a pattern.
And it's always the same amount of money going to the Biden family, who have no experience on any of this stuff.
Certainly Hunter doesn't.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so...
And now let me just add, this last one involves now the United Nations and the United Nations sustainable. Are you feeling good yet about global warming and all of the money that is going over to Ukraine and all of the money that we're giving, for instance, that $1 billion to China for sustainable development? Anybody feeling good about this?
So let me see if I have this right. I want to keep this as basic as possible.
Sure.
Because we're going to fill in, and I know you're going to do this on the special.
Yeah, and
fill
by the
in
way,
names and the details.
Ultimate chalkboard. We have the biggest chalkboard we've ever put together.
Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah.
You've built chalkboards from scratch for certain shows. This is going to be a big one.
Yeah.
But taking out let me suck out all the details, because you're going to go through those later, and we're going to need to learn these names and understand all these entities. But basically, the pattern of behavior is a foreign country, a foreign entity
that is corrupt,
passes money to some other intermediary, a think tank, a politician, someone in that realm.
Usually anti-corruption or sustainable development or energy related.
They pass money to a shell company, and then a shell company gets the money to the Bidens, and that percentage is always about a third of the initial amount. So we've got middlemen taking their piece throughout this process, but basically about a third of the money is getting to the Bidens in some way.
Do you know what our people on the ground say? How much of the percentage of money of the United States money that we're shipping over? $100 billion, let's say. We ship that over. Do you know how much is getting to the actual front from those donations?
I do not.
About a third. About 70% of it is gone.
What do you mean gone?
Gone. It's all going to bribery. You got to pay this guy, and then he'll take it to the next level. Oh, you want that? You're going to have to pay this guy and this guy. It's all bribery. About a third of our money, and they think maybe even less, but a third of our money is actually going to do anything. The rest of it is going to criminals. So you were saying?
It seems like this is such a well-developed scheme.
Oh, it is.
And I guess what the thought was essentially no one would ever look. I mean, there's so much.
No, you have everybody. You have everybody involved. You have the FBI involved. You have the State Department involved. You have the media doing cover. Here's what the New York Times said in today's paper in response to yesterday. House Republican report finds no evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden. That's the headline. That is the headline. Here's the first paragraph. After 4 months of investigation, House Republicans who promised to use their new majority to unearth evidence of wrongdoing by President Biden acknowledged on Wednesday that they have yet to uncover incriminating material about him, despite their frequent insinuations that he and his family have been involved in criminal conduct and corruption. If you are this is going to lead me to Tucker Carlson and Twitter. I'm going to address that next. This leads me right directly to that. If you are reading the New York Times, you have absolutely no idea what's really going on. None. That's half the country is getting their news. If the mainstream media covered this at all yesterday, they covered it this way. I could only find one story, and that was from NBC News yesterday, and it had this spin.